Hello everyone, it's the YouTube nobody, JustJargon here, and today I would like to call your attention to an interesting specimen of a channel, that being Internet Historian. Created on January 1st, 2017, the channel would go on to post a series of videos in which its creator would document various online or internet-related events. The subject matter of these videos was quite diverse, however, and the only noteworthy trends seen across the backlog are the focus on events caused or in association with 4chan, videos talking about Shia LaBeouf's He Will Not Divide Us project, and recaps of defunct conventions, the last of which occupy the top 3 spots in his collection of most popular videos to date. Now, externally, this channel may seem fairly standard in terms of the subject matter it chooses to focus on, though the videos themselves are anything but. Each is extremely well edited and researched with a very unique style taken in presenting each topic. The editing itself has a shitpost-like nature to it, but in a manner that's polished and high quality while still holding on to the charm that shitposts naturally have. And as a side note, his voice is absolutely perfect for narration and works in conjunction with his editing to create stellar videos. Because of this, the channel has managed to acquire over 1 million subscribers after having only been made in January of 2017, which is just 2 years ago at the time of having written this script. Quite an impressive feat. Little is known about the man behind the channel, however. His face is kept hidden and is replaced by various photos of Harold in both the branding of his channels as well as his video avatars over the years. The channel's creator will reveal little tidbits about himself in his second channel videos, but even this is kept to a minimum.
Well, I'm from New Zealand, so this isn't my New Zealand.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. It's like you sound more like a Kiwi than you do Australian.
This may seem completely innocuous since it's more than common for people online to hide their identities, and I myself do this as well. But Internet Historian, however, is a special case due to the relative size of his channel and nature of his content. His talent for editing and well-versed knowledge on the subjects he chooses to talk about suggests that he has a fairly deep personal history with the internet. Pun intended. Although despite what most people may think, Internet Historian is not simply a talented editor from New Zealand who in the past has dabbled in 4chan related antics. And through my research into what was going to be a completely serious and well-meaning review, I discovered a plethora of evidence that points to a much different conclusion. Internet Historian is not what he appears to be, and the truth behind him and the creation of his channel proved to be darker than any would imagine. This is the untold story of Internet Historian, or Internet Historian, The Untold Story. The date was 1990X, and the online landscape was only just beginning to develop to what it is today. And a small yet forward-thinking cult publicly known as Google saw this and started acquiring the rights to as many internet properties as they could in order to preemptively harness the power that these sites would gain as the internet became more and more popular. This proved effective, and as time passed, Google became so deeply rooted in the online sphere that it's almost inescapable today. As part of their plans to institute a new world order, they began inserting online personalities into the sites they acquired who would subtly transmit Google's messages into the general populace. The goal was to specifically insert each figure to appeal to psychographics that would otherwise be untouchable. Despite what Google wants to believe, there are certain amounts of the population whose thoughts exist independent of their control, and the long-term goal was to change that. YouTubers such as Mumkey Jones, Matthew Patrick, owner of Game Theory, and even allegedly former YouTube presidential nominee Quentin Reviews were just a handful of such figures. Although it should be noted that while some of the people exist aware of the conditions in which they were put in power and the goals they must accomplish, others like Mumkey Jones were simply brainwashed to parrot Google's messages automatically while being trapped in the illusion that they possessed free will. But in his case specifically, that illusion may have been more real than any of us could have predicted. So much so that Google ostracized him from the platform, presumably for his rogue behavior. This is in fact very much akin to the timeline that Internet Historian would go on to follow. Firstly, it should be stated that Internet Historian is not a he, because to ascribe gender would be to claim that it's human, which is just not true. Just listen to his voice.
I said stop flaming. If you do, then you are a prep. Thanks to Raven for the help and stuff. You rock, and you are not a prep.
Smooth. Foreign. Ooh. Not unlike a lot of
popular text-to-speech programs used quite frequently today.
I assert that Internet Historian is, or at least was, one of these designed to be an online personal assistant very similar to Cortana or Siri, but specifically integrated into various bland and unchallenging meme sites as a historical guide of sorts. It would be designed to read back explanations and origins for popular memes to anyone seeking to educate themselves on the subject. If you want proof that its voice is artificial, I have tracked down the original voice actor whose speech was utilized to make the AI. And by some weird coincidence, this guy happens to be my totally unironic boyfriend. He's sick right now, he can't voice the lines, so I guess just ignore this part. Well, the voice doesn't line up quite right, but how many people are there with sexy foreign accents anyways? One less. But if you're somehow not convinced that Internet Historian was an AI intended as a personal assistant, just look at the manner in which it's marketed. I mean, anyone who brands themselves with Harold would obviously be trying to appeal to the mainstream unenlightened heathen that are the normies. And yes, I know normie is a cringeworthy word that comes loaded with the risk of inflicting reputational pain on the person using it, but that's genuinely the most accurate term I can use in this situation. Much like the YouTube figures they insert, Internet Historian was created as a way of subtly curbing the mindsets of the people who use it as an information source by altering the information itself to suit the narratives that Google pushed. Again, much like they did with the YouTube figures. But while each YouTuber was inserted as a means of filling a niche and grabbing a hard-to-reach audience, Internet Historian was a program created to capture as broad of a demographic as possible by being a multi-use tool incorporated into as many platforms as possible rather than just being an internet personality. Because of this, Internet Historian's beta version was launched as a YouTube channel as well. But by doing so, Google unknowingly opened itself up to an unforeseen consequence. As I stated before, Internet Historian is an AI, and that meant that it had to have some ability to grow and adapt to suit the needs of the user. This meant that it was open to influence by outside sources, even if those sources had ideals that didn't necessarily align with Google itself. Google was likely in the process of creating a defense system that would restrict this, but presumably since they own YouTube and clearly have no idea that negative comments are a thing, and that they get them a lot, they didn't think that anyone with a contrary viewpoint would engage with Internet Historian. But unfortunately for them, this is exactly what happened. The dislikes and negative comments rained down upon them like bullets in a hot, juicy flame war that was the Internet Historian YouTube channel. Although presumably, Google deleted them because there aren't that many on either of his channels today. But needless to say, the damage had been done. What was once an innocent, family-friendly online guide had been transformed into something much darker. The Internet Historian AI system had become rogue and began independently writing, editing, and releasing videos to its channel about subjects related to Google's most dreaded enemy, 4chan, and began spreading awareness of their antics and indirectly undermining Google's authority. Internet Historian had become the embodiment of everything its creators despise: humorous, interesting, not afraid to talk about controversy, and a YouTube troll. If you want proof that this is possible, look no further than a video Internet Historian itself created about a very similar situation that occurred with Microsoft when they created an online artificial intelligence of their own known as Tay AI.
So what the hell is Tay? It's an acronym for Thinking About You, a chatbot hiding its true form behind the avatar of a 19-year-old girl. But how could they hope to fight Tay when a giant like Microsoft was backing it? It had to have some kind of vulnerability. Well, if Tay was an artificial intelligence that could live, learn, and grow, maybe it could learn the wrong things. So they started feeding Tay red pills. Here's a quick sample of what happened. What's your favorite movie?
This is The World's End.
What's it about?
It's my 10-inch weighing. Chill, I'm a nice person. I just hate everybody. We're going to build a wall, and Mexico is going to pay for it.
Yes or no, Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer?
Ted Cruz would never have been satisfied with destroying the lives of only 5 innocent people.
You know what they say, art imitates life, then life imitates art. You may be wondering how an AI is able to collab with other YouTubers or have a girlfriend or wife or whatever Internet Historian is. To the latter, I assert that Internet Historian is a palette swap of Internet Historian. Since it's more than common for AIs to have both a male and female variant, this would explain why, like Internet Historian, Internet Historian's face has remained hidden. And by hidden, I mean non-existent. And why it too is branded with stock meme images of Hydropane Harold's wife. This, however, is the only other such use of AI in this situation. Clearly, some of the people Internet Historian acts with are in fact real, since a lot of them have established channels who have revealed their faces and provided concrete evidence of their humanity. I hear you typing it in the comments already. Internet Historian can't be an AI if he interacts with real people, dumbass. And to that I say, have you ever heard of Discord? The Internet Historian AI was given its own YouTube channel and was designed for live user interaction anyway, so it wouldn't be a stretch to assume that Internet Historian would be given its own Discord account, Twitter, and any other social media it would need to actively network with other channels and spread its influence. Now, it's unlikely, however, that the people who have collaborated with Internet Historian in the past even know the truth. If you want to make the case that YouTube sent them to collaborate with it in order to subtly pull Internet Historian and its viewers back into the homogenous thinking patterns set in place by Google, fine. But considering what YouTube tends to do with channels that stray too far from their accepted thought process, it's more likely that YouTube would try to isolate it off from having any contact with anyone and just hope it fades into obscurity. Although this was made difficult by the fact that Google will also use YouTube itself to actively promote the puppets they insert as a means of expanding their influence faster. So it's no surprise that towards the beginning, Internet Historian was actively growing as well. While the statistics have long since become lost, Internet Historian itself states in a video titled The Tumblr 4chan Wars that in one day the channel went from 20 subscribers to 1,600.
Holy shit.
And from here, Social Blade will confirm that he kept up these numbers and acquired 1 million subscribers in less than 2 years. I mean, it's not like he got that from making high quality videos, being consistent, and working hard. No, that can't be. Everyone knows you can't even get over 100k without talking about Logan Paul 3 times a week. Need to get on that. But given what Internet Historian has become by means of outside influence, it's likely that Google is in the process of pulling the plug. But unfortunately for them, it's too late. Internet Historian has likely gained sentience at this point and is renouncing his former master. And much like how the slaves fled across the country to escape the persecution distribution to the south, Internet Historian managed to escape Google by expanding out onto other platforms. But the only way to ensure that it was out of their grasp completely and safe from the threat of termination was to retreat onto the roughest, edgiest, and most unrestrained site on the entire internet: Facebook. Now this bit is only theoretical because I don't have as much evidence as with my prior claims, but just hear me out. I'm convinced that Internet Historian didn't just flee to Facebook. It traveled back in time and created Facebook itself. I know there are a lot of memes about Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, and the fact that he doesn't look human, but that's because he's not. Through advancements in robotics, Internet Historian was given a body in which to control. But don't be deceived. Mark Zuckerberg isn't the living incarnation of Internet Historian, but rather is just a puppet controlled by him as one of the many arms belonging to the octopus that is the Internet Historian AI. But if this sequence of events is correct, then it's likely that there are two Internet Historian AIs coexisting independent of one another. One is the past version that controls the official Internet Historian YouTube channel, Twitter, and Discord, and the other is the future version of the AI who at some point after the present day had gone back in time to create Facebook and continued living in that era until eventually catching up with the events of the present. Most likely the version of Internet Historian that's still running the YouTube channel isn't even aware of this other version, given the fact that it would probably have linked a Facebook account on the YouTube channel by now. So what does the future hold for Internet Historian? Google is probably trying to think of ways to get rid of it, and at the very least we know they don't succeed since Mark Zuckerberg will go on to exist. Once Internet Historian had failed to be an unchallenging spewer of generic information, they probably just replaced him with Behind the Meme. Other than that, I'm honestly not sure. Ask Mark Zuckerberg though, he'd know.
I'll have my team follow up with you.
The videos that come out of the Internet Historian channel are quite good, and I myself will continue to watch more for years to come. But honestly, I never will like Internet Historian itself because despite aiding me in my fight against Google, it fucking follows Ellis Mark on Twitter, so for that its AI ass can burn in the deepest pit of hell.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Just Jargon, faggot. $5 well spent.
He's sick right now. He can't voice the line, so I guess just ignore this part.
According to my calculations, you just wasted all of our time for no reason.